Hey everyone, welcome to the Career to Coach Spotlight. And so I'm so excited, and I started to do these episodes or these sessions to bring some of the coaches that are in my community and that I've had the pleasure of working with and meeting along my journey. And to provide some inspiration to and hopefully empower you to continue to pursue that goal of becoming a coach and being able to see that if they can do it, then you can do it too. And so I'm so excited to have Patil here with us today. So I've had a chance to work closely with Uma, for several times, and then we've just kind of developed a relationship over the last the time we had the chance to work together. So I'm excited for her to share her journey, and so I don't want to take away from her story and kind of what she has going on, but yeah, so everybody welcome Uma. And so Uma, yeah, if you would just,
Thank you.
again, so grateful to have you here. And then if you would just share, like, your background and how did you even come into being in the coaching industry?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Monica, for that warm welcome and for having me in your space and for doing this recording with me. So, to answer your question, how did I come into the coaching industry? Actually, it's a really long story. And I hope you're up to listen to this long story.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I started off as a dentist. I'm a dentist by profession and never had even a vague idea that I would ever be a coach once or sometime in my life. And but I guess the universe had different plans for me, and so in 2014 was moved to UK for my because my husband's project demanded that, and so we moved to the UK. And I was not able to continue with my dentistry because I was into academics. And without taking up their exams, I couldn't have, continued either in their university or even as a practitioner. And the only option I had was to take up their qualifying exam, and that would only give me permission to practice dentistry, which I had really not done in a long time. I was teaching dentistry, but not really practicing clinical dentistry, and that was not really my forte. And that actually put me in a fix. And I then decided that that was not something I wanted to do. And I decided to take a break from my, just go on a long break and just find out what is it that I really want to do. My husband had a 3 year stint in the UK, and so we were supposed to stay there for 3 years. And it didn't make sense me spending all the time, energy, and money to relearn what I had already learned and then, slog further to earn that back. And so I decided to take a break and just wonder, like, I was just in search and wondering what is it that I would really love to do. And in that time, because I had moved away from my home country and I was away from family and friends, I where experienced loneliness and depression. And that is when I was also going to a yoga class. And it really made me feel very good. The yoga practice that I was so attached to, I can say. And my discussion with the yoga teacher led me to think and ponder if this is something that I would love to do. And in the meantime, also, because of the loneliness and depression, I also used to have panic attacks, and I was referred to a therapist there. And I was, from the GP, I was referred to a cognitive behavioral therapist. And I ended up doing a short course in cognitive behavioral therapy. And along the same lines, I also decided to venture into yoga, and I came to India and did my yoga teacher training course. And I got back to the UK and started teaching yoga. And along the journey of a yoga teacher, I realized that I was experiencing some stumbling blocks. Like I always was questioning if I was really someone who was good enough to teach yoga, because I had just done a 200-hour teacher training program. And in dentistry, I had put in 9 arduous, laboring years into the study. And I was like, how can I be a good yoga teacher with just a 200-hour certification? And so this self-doubt led me to kind of just keep searching for something more and something better. And when I was on the search, I connected with a Reiki master. And in fact, when someone referred me to her and I connected with her, and she told me that I might have some childhood trauma. And this was a totally new terminology for me. And I was like, okay, what is childhood trauma? And so she said, like, all the issues that you're facing are because you might have had childhood trauma, and Reiki will help you to heal that. I was like, okay. And I did some sessions with her. And at the same time, I also, she was doing her first Reiki master level, Reiki level 1 training. And I did the training with her and just continued with the Reiki training, even as I was teaching yoga. And in 2099, we had to move back to India because the project got over and my husband was asked to move back to India. And so I moved back with him. And I started teaching yoga here, but I really didn't find it as fulfilling and soul nourishing, because the way the classes are offered here differed a lot, and people were focusing more on that physical practice than on the emotional and mental benefits or that yoga was offering. And at the same time, I had mentioned to one of the students that I also am a Reiki healer, and she brought in somebody who needed healing. And from then on, I think clients just like started flowing into my practice, either through referral or they would find me on Google, because I listed myself on Google. And so finding clients did not become a problem, unlike the way it was for yoga in India. And so I pivoted from being a yoga teacher to now being a healer. Even when I was offering healing, I always did healing and coaching because that's the way my Reiki master had offered it to me. And so it was like I offered them a 6-week program. And if someone was not willing to do a 6-week program, they did a shorter period of time. And they were seeing amazing benefits and results with this.
Nice.
And along the same time, COVID hit. And I think I had the maximum number of clients around that time. And I was really busy. And at the same time, I also had maintained my contacts with my friends in the UK. And one of them connected me to a women's circle. And someone in the women's circle, it's basically, I'm telling you the story is because of the synchronicities and how one thing just led to the other in my journey. And so it's like she referred me to a hypnotherapist who was offering a manifestation challenge. And as a part of the participation of the manifestation challenge, I was selected for his hypnotherapy course, and that came to me as a gift. And by then I had realized that I had childhood trauma, which I really never had in my memory or even thought that that could be the reason why it was the way I was showing up in life. Like simple things like I always sabotaged my own success. I doubted my talents and potential. And it was like I always procrastinated and never really gave my best when it came to anything. And so I at the same time, even though I was not able to give my best, there was always this thought in the hindsight that, I know I can do better, but I don't know what's stopping me.
Mm,
And along the journey, I did understand that it could be my childhood trauma, because I was sent away to my uncle's when I was 4 year old, as my parents lived in a village.
mm,
And for a 4 year old child, maybe it was very difficult to comprehend that education was more important than her connection and the warmth she received from her parents. And so it led me to believe that if something that I had done wrong, or that, I had to do something differently to have my parents call me back to their home. And when this childhood inner child therapy was gifted to me from the universe, it was really like a blessing. And then I went on to the program, I did the program, and there was so much that was unraveled. And I had so much more deeper understanding about my own patterns and the way I'm showing up in life, not just in my career, but in my relationships and in my day to day life. And once I completed my hypnotherapy program, and COVID, the second rung of COVID was over, we moved to a different town here in India. And when I moved to a different town, I was actually uh, kind of, I can say that I'm not getting the right word. I was selling my services as a self love coach. And and one another coach, a business coach, connected with me, and he said to me that you seem very confident, you speak very well, and you do live programs on Instagram, but I'm not really able to understand who is it that you're selling this program, who are your clients, and why are you talking about self love. And this actually made me also rethink that my messaging was not clear. I did not really have clarity on why I was selling self love and why self love is important. And, uh, and then I decided to work with this coach. And before working with the coach, actually, I was selling my services, though they were bringing about huge transformations to my clients. I was charging way too less, and I was struggling to, like, kind of not really make ends meet, but still have a good living, and, to fulfill all my wishes, or to have financial freedom. And when I connected with him, he actually told me that you have a lot of potential. There's so much that you can share with people. And you've already been creating so much transformations for people. And why would you want to sell yourself so short? And that's when he helped me to launch my coaching program. And that's how I entered the world of coaching.
wow, wow, amazing. And I mean, so much in there. I mean, even from the fact that, just having to change careers really without, I mean, it wasn't, sometimes we have, people that, like, oh man, I'm struggling in my career, whatever, and they're kind of debating on making this shift, but sometimes we're kind of forced to do it, whether by having to move
Absolutely.
and just don't have the option. And so being able to make that shift, um, I mean, what were some of the concerns that you had, or what were some of the, I don't know, what are some things you struggle with, I guess, with that transition when you realize, oh man, like I can't, like I have to shift identities, I have to completely change what I, am used
Yeah.
to doing. What were some of the identities? I know you mentioned earlier, like you kind of questioned whether you could
Yeah.
do it or not, or what were some of the things that were going through your mind or that you struggled with at that, kind of transitioning?
Yeah. So first and foremost, like when I was working as a dentist, I was a salaried person.
Mm,
And I all I had to do was like show up, do the given part of my role, fulfill those requirements, and then I received a salary at the end of the month or the beginning of the next month, right? And I had never been an entrepreneur. And I was stepping into this role, which was totally new for me. It was exciting, but at the same time, quite, scary because I did not know. I always used to wonder why would like students want to come to my class, and who am I to like teach yoga just with a 200-hour, teacher training program, and do I really have all the knowledge to teach them? And besides that, since I had moved countries, not just town or city, I hardly had any network and I did not know people, didn't have any friends or family. And that was the biggest challenge. Like I had to literally go out of my comfort zone and make new friends, go out and talk about my work, like also kind of publish my work on social media and show up as a completely different personality. I mean, people knew me as a dentist, and then like suddenly everybody was like, "Oh, now she's a yoga teacher." And people were also asking me why I quit dentistry and why I'm like, gotten into yoga and things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so these were some of the challenges. And even before, when I showed up on social media, it was more to share my personal life, or like when we went on a trip, or and it was a birthday, or when we had some celebrations. But now I had to show up literally every day and showcase my skill and talents online to the whole world. And that seemed quite scary and daunting as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
despite the fact that I was confident.
Yeah. And because, well, that's what I was gonna say too. I mean, so I know you were probably confident kind of at that point later on in the journey, but I know you also mentioned like you didn't feel confident, I guess, in your ability to teach. So what were
Yeah.
some of I mean, obviously I know you said you took some other courses. What are some things that you said you feel like you had to overcome, or that you what are some things you did differently to help build up that confidence, or to, begin to believe that you could be a coach and you could help people?
Oh, yeah. So I introduced beginners yoga in the first place. Like I started to teach people who were never really introduced to yoga. And so I knew that somewhere I did know more than them, right? If they had never practiced yoga, definitely I've been though I did a 200-hour teacher training, I also had been practicing yoga ever since I was in my teens.
Okay.
And so I had the practical knowledge. And with that, I had also developed the theoretical knowledge because I did the certification. And besides that, I also believed that I definitely knew a little more than my students who were getting into my class, right? And the other thing that I did was I had to like literally talk to myself and say that you can do this and you have it in you. And just show up each day for the class in front of the students and just give my best.
Mhm.
And besides that, prepare for the classes and make sure that I was being really present when I was in the class so that I don't miss a thing and I'm being there for my students.
Yeah. Awesome. And so it sounds like, just like you said, preparation, and then I mean, preparation both with more training, right? And in addition to preparation, even as when we go into the sessions, kind of preparing before your sessions and things like
Yeah.
that.
And the mindset
Okay.
as well, changing my mindset.
Yeah.
And like literally talking to myself, infusing myself with that motivation and inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another huge thing you mentioned too was just that well, one of the things I picked up is you mentioned that you were a professor, so that well, you were, teaching dentistry, but then also that you had started doing yoga when you were 14. And I think sometimes when people are wanting to transition into coaching, they think, oh, I don't have anything to offer. Or like, what will people pay me for? And so they kind of struggle with, I know I want to do
True.
something different, but I don't really know that I have any skill set, especially when it's not necessarily, because if you think of a dentist, you don't think about like teaching, you don't think about, you don't think about some of those other things that they already may have in their background. It's just a matter of
Absolutely.
pulling out your background and actually putting it together. So you actually, that's one of those scenarios where you took your experience as an educator and then now brought in your experience in yoga and been able to kind of create your own pathway. And that's one thing
Yes,
I
yeah,
really believe in. It's just like, how can we create a pathway? Is it something that you're excited about, that you're passionate about, and that obviously you're
absolutely.
helping people? Because I know everybody that goes into entrepreneurship, there, most of us, even and especially in healthcare, we all go in coaching, all go in, with the desire to help people, right? And that was
Help
so that,
others. Yes, absolutely.
yeah. And so when you think about that, I think you mentioned a few things, but when you think about that transition of going from, like I said, do that employee to entrepreneurship, like what were there any what big shifts did you make with that?
So I think the biggest shift that I had to make was to be okay with investing some money for more learning or into my business, and trusting and believing that it would be returned back in terms of payments from the clients.
Hmm.
And it's like also to be okay with the fact that every month is not going to be the same, and it's not like a paycheck and you're not going to receive the same paycheck every month, and you have to be okay with that.
Hmm.
And the other, maybe the thing that the shift from entrepreneurship to, I mean, from being an employee to entrepreneurship, is you have to become so self driven. There's nobody here who's going to keep a check on you or tab on the hours you put in or the amount of work that you want to do for your business or in your business, right?
Hmm.
It's not the case when you are an employee. You have to clock in certain hours and you have to finish certain tasks, and you have to update it to someone whom you're reporting to. But here you become the reporter and the reportee. And so it's like, you become more like accountable to your own self. And that is one huge shift that I had to bring into myself. And since I struggled with procrastination from a very young age, this was the biggest roadblock that I experienced as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, yeah, and again, so much value. Just because I wanted to kind of get your perspective on that, because I think that's one of the biggest things, too, is when we're making that jump from career to entrepreneurship, is understanding there have
Yep.
to be some major mind shifts. Because like, call I don't know if you've ever read the book. I think it's Entrepreneur Roller Coaster. I think is actually what it's called. But basically, it's like
Okay.
you said, business is emotional highs, emotional lows, successes, and
Low.
failures, but really failures are actually learning lessons, right?
Yeah, learning
But
curves
yeah, and so, but it's
for more
overcoming.
successes.
Yeah, exactly. But it's overcoming those emotional highs and lows, like it's
Absolutely.
in kind of developing that emotional stability and everything. So awesome. and
True,
and
true.
tell us a little bit more about like who you actually help and like what you do.
Yeah, so now I am a childhood trauma healing expert, and I help people who truly know and believe in themselves that they have potential, but they're not really able to reap those results in their day to day life, whether it's in their career or their relationships. It could be their career as an employee or even as an entrepreneur, and also in their relationships and in their own personal goals, attaining their personal goals. And they might be experiencing certain roadblocks like procrastination or self sabotaging, or they might be struggling with low self worth or low self esteem. And these are the people who I work with, and I help them to dive deeper into their journey and then uncover all that is actually holding them back, and then help them to tap into their highest potential.
Nice, nice. So you actually could, well, if it's somebody that was watching this and they were struggling with trying to kind of figure out like what's holding them back and like what's their, what are maybe some of those past things in our past that we often kind of cover up, and we kind of push
Absolutely.
them way to the back. But a lot of times those are the things that we're kind of building upon as we grow, as we move through life, and as we develop our perspectives, and we
True.
unknowingly, a lot of times, like you said, self-sabotage, or we hold ourselves back, we procrastinate, we do all these things to keep from moving forward, not realizing that a lot of that has to do with, our past experience and traumas and things like that. So that's so powerful that you're able to
Absolutely.
help people overcome those things and then be able to become the best version of themselves. So that's so awesome. And then and I
Thank
know we
you.
had a chance to, either you had a chance to go through my how to reinvent yourself as a coach challenge. And so
Yeah.
what was your experience with that? Like how would you how was that how's that experience? And then if it was someone new watching, like how do you think that would benefit them?
Yeah. So, having worked with you gave me so many insights into my own coaching program and what is it that I really want to attain and who are the people I want to help and work with. And it also helped me to like kind of uncover certain hidden aspects of my own coaching program where I was really not paying attention to or was not really aware on the like on the surface it might look like, okay, I know what I'm doing, but sometimes you need to dig deeper to really understand what is it that I'm here to offer and who is it that I'm here to offer. And the best part is that you help me to work through the goals that I want to set and how I'm going to achieve them and what are the steps that I'm going to take. So it was like quite an elaborative process, which gave me a lot of insights. And I really would recommend anyone who is a new coach and who's trying to find their niche and who are trying to find a more um, deeper insights into their messaging and target audience to work with you and to find that clarity.
Awesome, awesome, great. I'm glad you got a lot of value from it. So I appreciate it. It was definitely a pleasure. And
I
then
did.
Uma, if you had to say like maybe like your top, couple two, three things that you would recommend for somebody that's considering going into coaching, or maybe that beginner coach, like what are some of the big like the top tips that you would recommend to them as they begin to, start this coaching journey?
Yeah, so take it one step at a time and one day at a time. And to have a clear vision and mission for their coaching business. And thirdly, to not hesitate to take help when they feel alone on this journey and to also to seek that guidance and reach out to someone and work with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, because even that, like, I think that was even me, like, all right, because I'll learn stuff, and I feel like I gotta try to figure out on my own, and so but entrepreneurship can be a lonely journey too, because
Yes.
the majority of the population don't have that business mindset, and so especially if you're coming from a family where maybe you're the only entrepreneur, and you're kind of trying to figure it out on your own, but yet everybody else
Yeah.
they mean good, they have what good intentions, but maybe they just don't, they don't understand because they're not on that same
Yeah,
journey.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
I know what you mean.
yeah, I don't know if you've experienced that, or if you had any issues around kind of like family or friends maybe kind of discouraging you, or maybe not intentionally trying to discourage you. But I know for me personally, like when I started business, my mom was like, "Oh, you're working too hard. Like you're doing too much. Like you need to rest. You need to." And I mean, she has good intentions, but just didn't really understand. Like in order to get to where I need to be, like these are things I have to do. And so, but eventually it got to the point where they realized, okay, like if she has a meeting, like this is her time, this is her business time, and we need to
Absolutely.
figure out how to create time around that. So I don't know if you have any insight to that, or if you had any experiences with anything like that, kind of just around
Oh yeah,
scheduling,
I have a
family.
couple. I have a couple. One is with respect to, yes, the amount of time you put in, because you become so passionate about this work. And I remember when I was a yoga teacher, and I would like just busy myself with just that, or being present online, and a lot of times my husband would wonder why I'm like, why, what is the need for me to be online so much. because not many people understand that most of our work and our business is happening online, and we are getting clients online, and so being present is so important. But at the same time, I think it's so important to even create that balance and find that sweet spot where you are investing equal number of hours in your business and on your business, and not just like on your business and then you're draining all the energy, because being online can also drain you. So it's so important to find that sweet balance between the two, and then define those hours where how much you would like to spend online and how much you would like to spend on your business that is working with your clients or your students or whatever is the nature of your business.
Yeah.
And so that becomes so important as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know, like I said, for me, especially if you're starting out as a solo entrepreneur and you're like, for me, I'm, if you're transitioning from career to coaching, or, even if it's, if you're not, if you're already kind of in it and you're starting and you're kind of picking up steam, it's just a lot of, you have to build up the momentum.
Yeah,
And so those beginning
momentum,
stages can
absolutely.
be challenging. And so, yeah, definitely, I think just having, like you said, that support, a community, like someone that's kind of on that same path helps you
Absolutely.
navigate some of those challenges a lot easier. And like you said, even just setting aside being and something, this is something I'm still working on, right? Is being intentional about my time, right? So if it's family
Absolutely.
time, trying to put the phone down, trying to focus, being in the present with family. And if it's business time, then trying to be focused and staying focus on that, in that time. And I
On
think
that, yes.
that helps with the balance too, because it can be overwhelming sometimes when you're trying to, again, build a business from scratch, and you're learning because you're in the process, you're learning, you're trying to do at the same time. And then sometimes you have the ups and downs. And so it's the emotional roller coaster. Just feel like it's
Close to.
awesome when you can have a community and be able to, have people around you that are on that same journey that can support you and support each other
Yeah,
on that path.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so awesome, so awesome. And so, Uma, I'm so grateful for all your value. You shared so much, and
Thank you.
I'm hoping the viewers get so much value from this as well. And then, if there's somebody that wants to find you online, they want to be able to reach out to you and see how you can maybe help them on their journey. Like, what's the best way for them to reach out to you? Or
So they can reach out to me on my Facebook profile, where I am as Uma Patil, and they could direct message me, or also I do have a group where I run a group for Empower. It's named as Empower Her, and I offer some free masterclasses every fortnight, and they could attend those masterclasses, which will be announced even on my profile, and my profile is public, so anybody can find me in the name of Uma Patel. And
okay,
I'm also on Instagram. I'm not really so much active now on Instagram, but if they would like to see what is the work that I do, I have a ton of reels and videos, and they could watch them to get an insight into what is it that I really do. And on Instagram, I'm a sacred underscore wisdom underscore journey. And yeah, these are the two spots where they can find me.
awesome, awesome. And I'll make sure that we include that in the comments in the section, so
Sure.
they can definitely click on that link so they can find you if they, and seek out your assistance. So but yeah, so grateful for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So much value today. I don't know if you have any closing
Thank
remarks,
you.
anything you want to say as we get ready to close out.
Thank you so much for having me on your show or your session, and thank you for your time. And what is it that I want to say is just keep going and look at the path ahead, and do not hesitate to seek help.
Awesome. Love it, Uma. I appreciate you. And so, guys, keep
Thank
looking
you.
after Uma, and reach out to her definitely if you need some help and kind of just getting unstuck and moving forward. So, great. And so look forward to
Thank
seeing
you.
you all soon.